elections so that you know that when you go and cast your vote, that your vote counts. Because that is important to securing Texas. That's important to securing this country going forward. And so I got to write a lot of the election integrity bill that passed out of the Texas legislature and a lot of other bills that help when you go down and you vote, you get that paper ballot afterwards where you can look and verify that those names on there are the people you voted for. That was Senate Bill 595 that we got to work on with Senator Colcourse. It got passed out of the Texas legislature. The governor signed it and law today so that you can verify your ballot. We started in March of 2021 after getting elected, and also Biden administration taking over and him delivering on his promises to pull back all the things the Trump administration had in place to secure our borders, and the people started coming over the border illegally. Texas stood up. Governor Abbott, who's going to be here in a minute, launched Operation Lone Star in March of 2021. The Texas legislature, I got to be a part of the funding of the $5.5 billion that went towards Operation Lone Star, which is your DPS and National Guard securing the border. That is the tactical barriers you see on the border. That is the technology, the helicopters, the boats. That is what's making Texas safer today. Is the $5.5 billion in 2021, and then the additional $5.1 billion that we passed this last legislative session to secure our border. The governor is rolling in right now. I know it has been great working with Governor Abbott over the last 2 terms. Secure our border, to lower property taxes, secure our elections, to protect our children from gender modification, to helping us eventually get to school choice for Texas children so that you as parents are in control of your children's education. There's a lot of good things happening in the state of Texas today. That has been our conservative values and principles have been coming through this Texas legislature, and it's been great to work with the best governor in the United States to make sure that we're doing all those things. He stood up to the Biden administration when it comes to making sure that we pass the laws and do the work that we need to do on the southern border. And so, without any more further ado, I'm going to let the governor of the great state of Texas, Governor Greg Abbott, talk to y'all.
Give it up for Jacey Jetton. How y'all doing? Y'all ready to go vote? Yeah. There you go. Vote twice. There you go. Some people. Exactly. Listen, so good to be with Jacey, especially during early voting, because this is such a pivotal time for everybody here, because quite literally your future is on the line, and you get to determine that future yourself by you going to go vote. And this is the man to vote for right here, Jacey Jetton, to return as your state representative. He's done such a good job. You know, some people actually don't deserve to be reelected. Others do. Jacey deserves to be reelected because he worked so hard for you guys. So one thing he talked about is the way that Joe Biden is a total disaster. And he is. And I'm not even talking about the border yet. I mean, think about what Bidenomics has done to us, and Biden inflation, and look at the cost of eggs and milk and gasoline and homes and everything that you buy is through the roof. And it's just getting worse because Biden doesn't have a clue. Starcey doesn't have a clue about the economy. Candidly, Biden doesn't have a clue, is the bottom line. But we are here to make sure that we're going to keep Texas kind of cordoned off from what Joe Biden is trying to do to wreak havoc across the country. Because of you all, we are keeping Texas the #1 economy in the United States of America. And to help you be able to better afford what you're doing when you're paying your rent, paying for your mortgage, paying for your family. That's exactly why Jacey and I worked so closely together to deliver on a promise. What happened this last session, we had an all-time record budget surplus. In some states like California, they will take that budget surplus and spend it to grow government and spend more of your money. Jacey and I know that that's your money, not the state's money. And that's why we returned it to you with the largest property tax cut in the history of the United States of America. And say it again. And so this young man right here says he wants more. And boy, have you come to the right place. Because of you all, it looks like when you return Jacey to Austin, Texas, it looks like we may be having another budget surplus of almost $20 billion. Jacey and I will work on returning that money back to you with another huge property tax cut. So another thing that Jacey and I worked on, I don't know if you talked about Riley Gaines yet? Not yet. So some people here know who Riley Gaines is. And Jacey and I did because Riley came to work with us in Austin, Texas. For those who don't know, Riley Gaines is an elite college swimmer at the University of Kentucky. She trained from being a young child to the time she was at Kentucky to compete against the best and beat the very best at swimming, and she did. And then the NCAA changed the rules, saying that she doesn't have to swim just against women and beat women. She also had to swim against a man who identified as a woman. Well, that's just wrong. It was wrong for Riley, even though Riley, she swam against the guy, she tied the guy she was swimming against, but the NCAA gave the award to him, not to her, for that place. That's wrong, and that's why we worked with Riley Gaines and passed a law saying no men and women's sports in the state of Texas. So Jacey did talk about our schools, and listen, we want our schools to do better. And I worked on a bill that I'm going to tell you more about that really does a lot to elevate and transform and improve education in our state. But it didn't get there because all of the Democrats and a handful of Republicans stopped it from getting there. And they stopped it from getting there because they were against school choice, which doesn't make sense for several reasons. One is, I know in Jacey's district, for example, remember 2 years ago when you went to go vote in the Republican primary, there was a ballot initiative. And one of those ballot initiatives asked, do you support school choice? In Jacey's district, more than 86% of you said, yes, you support school choice. And I'm going to give you some explanations of what so many parents have seen. One, in Dallas, as opposed to focusing truly on educating our kids, they have a resource guide to help educate families about how kids in the schools can change their genders. They should be focused on ways they can change their grades from a B to an A or from a C to a B. They need to be focused on math and science and reading and writing, as opposed to all these other things. Then several other school districts have been promoting the same thing, and then there's the Louisville ISD, where they had a man teacher showing up in school teaching these kids as a cross-dresser, dressed up as a woman in high heels. Are those kids focused on what's going on? Are they paying the quality attention to their studies? I don't know, but let me ask you a more serious question. If you were a parent of a child in that school, would you feel like you should be able to remove your child and send your child to another school, especially if that is your child's teacher? Well, let me tell you something. The way Texas law works right now, you would not be able to do so. Because the way Texas law works is the state dictates what school you go to and does not give you a choice. I think that is wrong. I think you have a God-given right to choose the school best for your child. And that's why we're working to advance school choice, but really so much more. Because listen, the goal that Jacey and I have is to make sure we have a top quality, actually the top quality education for our kids. So it includes in part school choice, but also a bill that adds $6 billion more for public education, teacher pay raises, and getting rid of the STAR test in the state of Texas. those things together, and you got transformational change. That's the kind of thing that should have garnered enough votes to get it passed. It didn't, but I know that the way this election is going to work out, that will pass. Jacey and I will be back in Austin, Texas. We will fight and get that bill passed and make education better for kids across the entire state of Texas. But I know that there's another thing that really is weighing more heavily on you than that. Something that's the number one issue in Jacey's district, number one issue in Texas, and the number one issue in the United States of America. And that's for Texas to maintain the backbone to continue fighting back against Joe Biden's open border policy. This is crazy. This is crazy. I'm going to say something that some of you may think is outrageous, but what I'm about to tell you is factually correct. That woman who was murdered in Athens, Georgia, just a few days ago, was murdered by a Venezuelan that was allowed in under Joe Biden's policies to allow more Venezuelans in, knowing full well that the president of Venezuela is letting men like this murderer out of jail. Very dangerous people. Here's my point. That woman should be alive today. She should not be dead. This is murder by policy of the federal government, and it must be stopped in the United States of America. And I think what you saw on TV just before that, you saw, 2 weeks before that, these crazy criminals who were here illegally in Times Square beating up police officers in Times Square. Why in the world are those people allowed to be able to walk around our country? Bottom line, they should not. Get this. Do you know what the safest country is in the northern and southern hemisphere of the Americas? This is going to shock you. The safest country. The lowest murder rate. I'm teasing you because I know no one will understand this or get this right. The country in the northern and southern hemispheres of the Americas right now with the lowest murder rate is El Salvador. They used to have the highest murder rate. You know what they decided to do? They decided to lock up all the murderers. It's not a genius move. It just makes sense. My point is this. A country that now is becoming the most dangerous is the United States of America. It's because we are importing people with criminal records like this. And then when they get here, we don't have prosecutors who are going to put them in jail. And we don't have jail systems that will keep them behind bars. It is outrageous, and it must be stopped. And that's why Texas is taking action. So here's the deal. This isn't something that's been going on forever. It's only something that's been going on for 3 years. Because 4 years ago, we had the lowest illegal border crossings in 45 years. It's because 4 policies were put into place. Remain in Mexico, Title 42, end, catch and release, and build a border wall. That's what it took to have a secure border. Joe Biden came into office and actually did something to change that. He signed executive orders that eliminated those policies. But he did not stop there. He went further and knowingly decided not to enforce 3 laws that already exist in the United States of America. You remember how just 2 weeks ago, Joe Biden was telling Americans that he needed Congress to pass some laws for him to be able to secure the border. Either A, Joe Biden was lying to you, or B, Joe Biden had no idea what he was talking about, or C, all of the above. All right. You know, multiple choice tests are so easy these days. So anyway, here's the deal. I want to make sure you know this so that you can tell your friends and neighbors, anyone who wants to argue with you about Joe Biden and the border. Because one law passed by Congress on the books as we speak right now requires the executive branch of government, the Biden administration, to deny illegal entry into the United States. Biden's not enforcing that. Biden is aiding and abetting people coming into the United States illegally. Second law requires the president's administration to detain anybody who does come across the border illegally. They're not detaining anybody. They're letting them loose and go wherever they want to go, like this killer did in Athens, or the criminals in New York. Law number 3, passed by Congress, on the books as we speak right now, requires the Biden administration to be building border barriers that would deny illegal entry. He's not building border barriers. The only thing he's trying to do is to tear down the barriers that Texas has been building on our border. That is lawlessness, quite literally, violating the laws of the United States of America, and it must be stopped. And we as Americans will stop it when we fire Joe Biden this November. But here's the deal: we got a job we got to continue to do, and that's what Jacey's been working with me on to help us achieve what we have been able to. Because Joe Biden is not enforcing the law, and because Joe Biden's lawlessness has led to such havoc and danger in our state and in our country, that's exactly why I declared under Article 1, Section 10 of the United States Constitution an invasion, and we are going to invoke the Constitution and defend our great state from this invasion. Say it again? There you go. Well, thank you. So here's the deal. Let me tell you what we're doing. For one, we're building our own border wall. The only state in American history for a state to build a border wall is Texas. And with the money authorized by Jacey, we have either finished or have under construction more of Trump's border wall in Texas than Trump built in the state of Texas. You remember those big orange buoys that we put in the Rio Grande? Yep. So they were designed by the Border Patrol to deny illegal entry by anybody who wanted to come into the country illegally. They worked so well that we put them in the water, nobody would get across. But what do you know, shortly after we put them in the water, Joe Biden filed a lawsuit to try to stop us from putting those buoys out there. Well, that case is tied up in the courts as we gather here today. But know also as we gather here today, those buoys remain in the Rio Grande River just at this moment in time. And then there's this massive island in the Rio Grande between Mexico and Texas, owned by the state of Texas. If you think of the size of this restaurant, which coming through the backside, this is pretty big. But it's at least 10, maybe 20 times the size of this restaurant, this island is. And on this island was nothing other than cane and trees and bushes packed more tightly and closer together than everybody who's standing out here today. The only people who were using it were the drug cartels. The cartels would use it as a staging area where they would smuggle people and put them on that island, and smuggle drugs and put them on that island, and then look for the right time to get them from the island to Texas. I ordered the Texas National Guard. I say, I want you to seize and take over that island and take that island back from the drug cartels. They started with bulldozers building a land bridge from Texas out to the island. And then when they did that, they got on the island and used those bulldozers and mowed down everything that was on that island, and it was as flat and as barren as the floor underneath your feet. The only thing standing on that island right now is the flag of the great state of Texas. And rimmed around the perimeter of it is this military-grade razor wire that the National Guard is using to deny illegal entry. And that way, the cartels nor illegal immigrants can come onto that island anymore. But it's this military-grade razor wire that the National Guard has been putting up. They've now put up far more than 100 miles of this military-grade razor wire. Give it up for the incredible members of the Texas National Guard. So just like I told them to seize that island, I also told the National Guard to seize that park in Eagle Pass, Texas, that was ground zero for illegal immigration crossings at Shelby Park. And what was going on there, there were sometimes 3,000, 4,000, 5,000 people crossing there a day. And is where you would see on TV, whenever there were crossings in Texas, they would show that area in Eagle Pass. And then there was a staging or location area of that park where the Border Patrol agents would put all the illegal immigrants they'd apprehended and line them up for processing and then send them to wherever they were going to send them. That also you saw on TV. I told the National Guard, we're not going to let that happen anymore. This is the state of Texas land, and we are taking this land back for the state of Texas, period. More than 50 acres, and it's wired completely shut. And today, as opposed to there being 3,000 or 4,000 people, there's not 1,000 people crossing. There's not 100 people crossing. There's not even a dozen people crossing. There's an average of about 6 or 7 people crossing a day, and they are arrested by the Texas Department of Public Safety. In fact, what we've done up and down the border, because we've done it not just there in Eagle Pass. We did it down in Brownsville. We did it in El Paso. We have done it in all the major crossing corridors. Texas represents about 2/3 of the entire U.S.-Mexico border. And for the first year or two of the Biden administration, we were getting more than 2/3 of the crossings. Now, 70% of all crossings of the border are going to California and Arizona, not the state of Texas. And then listen, the cartels who bring everybody across, they've learned what everybody in this room has said before, that is, don't mess with Texas. And to further aid everything we're doing, did you see what I did 2 Fridays ago? I announced that Texas, we are building our own National Guard military base on the border. It's going to house up to 2,300 of our National Guard troops to make sure they're right on the border. It's just a few miles south of Eagle Pass, so they can respond to that entire region to do an even more effective job of securing the border. Listen, a reason I go into all this detail is to help you understand that this is nothing that a governor does alone. Everything I just talked to you about, Jacey Jetton had a hand in playing a role in. Give it up for Jacey. We work as a team. He helped provide funding, he helped provide strategies, helped authorize what the National Guard is doing, all that kind of stuff. And I could not be here telling you the success that Texas is having if I did not have Jacey Jetton working with me in Austin, Texas. And I'm asking you, please go vote for Jacey Jetton in this election. So here's the deal. If I could try to hone this down to everybody here individually, and that is, as much as I've talked about what I'm doing and what Jacey's doing, this election actually is not about either me or Jacey. This election is about you personally, your families, your friends, your values, and it's your values that are on the line. And be assured of this, there are people in this state, there are people in this county who have values contrary to your values. Those people are going to go vote. You need to make sure that they do not cancel you out and override your value sets. Everybody here needs to make sure that you not only go vote, but when you do so, you take a family member, a friend, a co-worker, a neighbor, anybody that you can find to go vote, and go vote for Jacey Jetton. I don't know about you guys, but I can tell you what my mom told me as a kid growing up, and that is the old saying, do not put off till tomorrow what you can do today, right? Everybody here's heard that. And so, same thing applies to you right now. Why wait till tomorrow? Why wait till the next day? Why wait until March the 5th when you can today go vote for Jacey Jetton if you've not already voted? And so to make it even easier than that, I want you to know that the closest voting location happens to be right across the street. I have it as Cinco Ranch Branch Library, and I have it down as 400 feet away. So here's the deal. In my wheelchair, it would take me about 2 or 3 minutes to get there. I know everybody in this room can make it there in 5 minutes. Whatever you have to do, if you got to be somewhere by 5 o'clock, unless it's in Baytown, if you got to do something by 5 o'clock, you can stop by there, cast a vote for Jacey real quick, and go about your business of what you got to do. But also, because you guys have been such great patriots, great supporters of Jacey's, and supporters for the future of the state of Texas, whatever you want to do, I'm going to stay here as long as it takes to take a picture with everybody who wants a picture, to say thank you for what you're doing for our great state. So thank you all. God bless you all. And God bless the great state of Texas.
Hey, real quick, everyone. I'm going to give some direction, but hey, one of the most popular things that the governor of Texas did that I know everybody in here is a big fan of is how'd y'all like those buses taking illegal immigrants around the rest of the country? And making sure that the rest of the country knows what the state of Texas is dealing with here. And so appreciate you, Governor Abbott. I appreciate everybody coming out. I just want to recognize a few people. Commissioner Myers is here, former Congressman Pete Olson. I see Judge Steve Rogers. Thank y'all for coming out. The picture line is going to start to our right, to your left, and it's going to wrap around. And so please jump in line, take pictures, and please vote. Thank you.